Welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings here in Mendham. And somewhat a little bit of happenings in the internet, the rest of the YouTubes, some notable things, sort of, kind of. Um, yeah, Mike. Yeah, I hadn't made a video in a long time. So he did make a couple of videos responding to the Benatar antinatalism with Sam Harris thing. And it's quite depressing, actually. And Modern Mystic has also made a couple of videos. I didn't care too much for them, but so I might get around to talking about that. And then Hofladay, quite irritating person. He has made a video. I haven't played it yet, so I might play some of that and respond to some of the rubbish in there. It's no doubt very rubbishy. And I'll just read a comment here to start. And kick this thing off, so to speak. In terms of a, yeah, so I'll do some of this asymmetry talk. But it's just, it's all connected to this bigger picture of what we are mechanically, and the nature of the biases built into us, which, everything, we're addicted to everything. And part of the argument I've been making, or attempting to make, is there's lots of examples you can give for any one of these things, and that's sort of the work of compiling the examples. And that's kind of the job in making an argument for something, is collecting these bits of evidence and piling them all up to demonstrate an argument to idiots. So anyway, so there's two idiots here called Doug whatever and some other anonymous due to fascist, whatever that means, idiots. Anyway, so Harris asked him how you can benefit non-existence but not deprive it. So if so the simplest example would be the graceful exit thing, the dying gracefully thing. So you could kill somebody, however you want to look at it. You could know, let's say you had the crystal ball, you could see the future, and you knew somebody was just going to really suffer for 6 months. I mean, just horrible. It wasn't going to go well. The therapy, the treatments, everything was going to go horribly. They weren't going to have any quality of life. They were just going to go through 6 months of absolute torture. And so instead, you intervene and show up and say and explain it to them and blah, 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 and they voluntarily, Kevorkian or whatever, they kill themselves prematurely. Now, they're not going to enjoy the benefit of not being tortured. It's like I could kill somebody on the Mangala gurney who's too far gone. Or you could go with even that movie, Resurrection or whatever it was called, the Aliens movie, where Ripley is a clone. And she kills her other clone. Now, the other clone's not going to benefit from not being tortured. There's no one going to be alive to say, gee, that feels so much better not being tortured. No, they're just not going to be tortured. And it's clearly, in my opinion, to anybody rational, it's clearly a good. Clearly. No doubt about it. And clearly, just as clear, is if there's somebody who's perfectly comfortable and you do the same thing and they don't get to have brownies, they're not going to miss not having brownies. They're not going to miss having whatever, banana split or whatever their favorite dessert is, chocolate cream pie. Yeah, they're not here to miss it. They're not here to be denied it, so they clearly can't be harmed by it. And that's the nature of the asymmetry, is that preventing a harm is always good. Preventing a good, quote unquote, because goods aren't made of anything but basically getting you out of trouble. All the time. It's always that way. If you really think about it, every good is tied to cleaning up a mess, cleaning up something that's broken, something that's not good. You fix something that's not good, and that's a good. But there's no intrinsically good thing. where there's intrinsically bad things. That's the asymmetry. The two things aren't equal. One is shallow and superficial, one is substantive and always real, in terms of if you actually do prevent it. So anyway, I'll finish reading here. Harris asked him how you can benefit non-existence but not deprive it, and Banatar refused to give a solid answer. Well, that's just bullshit. He did, but he wouldn't give it in the way Harris was harassing him for some personal anecdote or something. He was making it a personal question rather than just a rational question of how you value suffering compared to trivialities, where you're not extracting somebody from quicksand. So find the good where you're not extracting somebody from bad, and then it can be clearly demonstrated that that good, whatever it might be, isn't necessary or can't possibly be declared a bad thing because it's missing. See, fixing somebody from preventing bad is always good, but preventing good isn't always bad. It's that simple. That's the asymmetry. Alright, so then this anonymous douche says, Benatar's asymmetry argument doesn't hold up. Well, says you. He's not going to make an argument of how it doesn't hold up. He just says it. But everything else he claims is spot on. Well, that's just irrational, because everything else he talks about is essentially woven into the fact of the asymmetry being real. If he actually thought goods were especially solid as preventing torture, if he thought, your desserts, your happiness eating your dessert was as solid a good, that is, the world was horribly deprived if we don't have people eating dessert, was the same value as a starving child or something, then he wouldn't be making the argument he's making. Then he'd be saying, yes, it's worth some torture to have that fantastic good. But no, he's saying, because of the asymmetry, the torture wins. Any torture kills, just wipes out any of those goods, because all those goods are trivial and superficial. They have no real value weight. So you're an idiot. You should be anonymous because you're an idiot. The podcast was painful. I feel like Sam scored 1 point early. Bullshit. He didn't score any points ever on showing that the asymmetry argument isn't logical. Again, he didn't show it with anything called evidence. But after that, Sam couldn't score another point. Again, and score another point in what way? By making the argument that somehow goods need to happen. Like we need to make people so they can have fun. And that's much more valuable than the idea of not making people who are going to be tortured. And the fact that people can't figure out that, it's a lot more important not to make torture than it is to make silly, trivial assholes going, oh, I have feelings and feel good for a moment, this much time. Yeah, that's silly. So anyway, there's probably lots of other ways to describe this, in terms of making examples, like if you were going to a store and the store you were perfectly comfortable. It's like you had 5 sweaters and you were going to the store and it had sweaters, like you could get a 6th sweater, or you could feed a child for the day, a hungry child, or some stuff like that. You could cure somebody's headache, a migraine. You could, only an asshole would go for the 6th sweater. Only an asshole would say, an undeprived person, somebody who's not in pain, they're comfortable, and they just want more dessert. They want another bag of potato chips. Only an asshole would say, no, instead of feeding that kid, give me the potato chips. Only an asshole would go to the store, and if they cost the same thing, only an asshole would buy the potato chips. A preposterous, gaping asshole. All right. So fuck you. You didn't make an argument. And he didn't. It's just not an argument to say that prevention doesn't have value because the prevented harm didn't happen. Yeah, that's right. That's the whole point of preventing something is it doesn't happen. But the fact that it doesn't happen and that there isn't somebody saying, "Oh, I'm so glad that didn't happen to me," doesn't change the value of the experience not taking place. The torture not happening is always good. Ugh, idiots. So anyway, yeah, that's probably enough. There's probably no point in soaking in that crap. So I'll switch a little bit and go to the mystic thing. And so much of what he does bothers me because I see the overview in it. And so he's making some weird conversation about how the modern people should go back to religion, because they need a little structured life because, um, you know, if too much reality seeps in, it screws your little personal comfort up. It messes up the little mechanism of getting by or surviving or something. It's almost he's like talking like a survivalist or something. And it's kind of got this notion that there's no practical effect we can have anymore. You see, we can't fix the world. We can't politically organize. We can't do anything. Now, the fact that there has been huge failures in our political organization, the two parties are completely insane now. I mean, the lefties with their open borders is fuck that shit, and the righties with their give it all to the rich. There's just no fucking rational choices here. But the fact that there's no rational choices right now doesn't mean there'll never be rational choices or that some kind of good organization can't come along. So the fact that we've been through a period of shysterism and, where the insincere have won, doesn't mean it's always going to be like that or that's some sort of, that's the pinnacle of our achievement, is that we've become too stupid to figure out we're getting sold crap. No, it's not. That's not inevitable. It's not futile, and especially in the circumstances pointed out so many times. There was other comments. Like there's always a comment from some asshole who says, "Well, antinatalism will never work because no one's going to give up having babies and blah blah." And it's already happened. Most of the world, most of the human beings on Earth, 50% of them don't even get married anymore, asshole. So, but most people don't have the more than 2 kids you need to maintain human existence. So the top 80% of people, the ones having the fewest babies, the fewest baby 80%, would not sustain by their behavior human existence. They're already behaving like antinatalists. So it's only 20% of the people that you got to shove a cork in. It might only be 15 or 10% realistically, because you could add some more to that 90% to get to 2 kids. You have to go all the way down to probably 90% of the human population. So it's only 10% of the population that's fucking the game. And you're talking like a defeatist. So we're right on the brink of victory, and these assholes are saying there's no fight to win. No, there's plenty of fight to win here. It's easy. We don't have that hard a task. And all these assholes have to do is say, yes, I'm for it, and they won't do it. They won't raise their hand and say, yes, I'm for it. I mean, they're too pussy to even do that. And it just stuns me how fucking futile these people's existences are, and this fucking nihilism that is represented by the modern mystic is the cause. I mean, this stupid, idiotic notion that that our intelligence and the weaving of thoughts and conversation isn't fundamental to things happening, that you have to actually persuade each other, and that we have to actually encourage each other. And you have all these damn naysayers who because they don't want to do any work, they just make an excuse to say work is stupid, doing anything is stupid. It's just so fucking irritating. Because they're not even against it. They're just against the idea that, well, if you're doing it and you see value in it and everybody else sees value in it and you start organizing, oh fuck, that means I'll have to do something, and I don't want to do anything. I just want to eat cookies. So their own selfishness is just consumed. The fact that they don't mean to be in opposition. They don't mean to be a fucking dead weight we have to drag, to the finish line. But they make themselves into one, just because they're just trying to find excuses and rationalizations to be lazy, and to not have to sacrifice anything at all for the cause. But like I said, they're not really opposed to the cause. They're just behaving as if they were, in the sense that they're just sucking up resources and sucking up the motivation of the people that would be able to win the victory. They're just so fucking useless. I've said it before, but yeah, the first people who should be shot in a war are the fence sitters. They're just in the fucking way. Alright, anyway. So I don't know if I need to play any of this. I'll play some of it just because it's Mystic and he has a charming voice. And I think in this area or something he starts talking about how we're, it's all feudal and our cultures don't provide us any way of investing in our civilization, and therefore we should just be thinking about our little world and making our little fences and are taking care of our little gardens, and and not pay attention to what's happening in the world.
And try and make a difference to an overall society, even if it came down to something along the lines of joining a march, a big march. You could have a march against Vietnam. You could have a
Yeah, so you could have used the example of the modern march, which was the March on Wall Street, and how there was nothing wrong with it except it didn't have any leadership, and it didn't have a clue of what it was marching for. It just knew it was against. I'm against it. But it had no rational strategy of what to replace the thing they were against. So they're against something, but they haven't figured out how they're going to fix it before they do their against it. And I guess we do this in wars, right? You go into a war and you're fighting something, and it's like the Iraq thing. Oh well, Saddam Hussein's an asshole. We'll make up a whole bunch of crap to get him out of there anyway because we don't like him, so we'll just make up some lies that he did 9/11 and he did this and he did that, and he's a jerk anyway, so who cares? But no thought is given to, well, you have to replace him with something. What are you going to replace him with? And so the March on Wall Street had no clue because they hadn't thought about it, and none of the people could agree. Like if you actually came up with a policy and had said, well, let's have a huge tax on any inheritance over $5 million or something. No, you can't do that because I expect to be inheriting a whole bunch of money from my trailer park living parents someday because they're going to win the lottery and I'm going to get a whole bunch of money. Or they have some kind of delusion that somehow that tax over $5 million is going to affect them somehow, and that somehow they don't want to be in a game where they can't, and they can't pass on to their children insane head starts in life, so their little failure spawn can beat the shit out of everybody else in the world with, a club they didn't earn, a club you gave them, and said it's okay to beat up the rest of the world with the daddy club. Go prove how you're better than everybody else with your fake head start and your completely fake everything, completely fake. You didn't earn any of it. We give you fake medals and say, yes, go tell everybody else they have to salute you because you have your fake medals. Well, anyway, but yeah, when you poke these Wall Street marchers, they weren't for anything progressive. They were just against it. I'm against Wall Street, the Fed. But they have no clue about how the economy works or what you need to do to make us have a real economy again. And they certainly didn't understand that it isn't Wall Street, it's the rich people who own Wall Street. And they couldn't figure out that. They couldn't even figure out Wall Street is rich people. They couldn't even figure that out. So yes, it doesn't do you any good to march if your marchers are imbeciles and they don't have like a General Patton or somebody who's going to sit there and, use them effectively and actually have a plan. Once we kill these Nazis, let's go kill some fucking Russians, or, somebody who has a plan. No plan won't work. And that's what most organizations are now. They're just feel good, stroke each other and say, oh, yeah, we're with each other, but they don't have a plan. No plan, no purpose, no function, no use. So yeah, we're stuck with really poor leadership at the moment. but it doesn't mean that that's going to be forever.
A march against nuclear, either energy or nuclear armaments. You could have a march against an anti-apartheid march, and these things would.
I mean, yeah. So he's going back to marches that actually did work. So that's the joke here, is that the whole thing against apartheid actually did work. I mean, all the heat that was created and all the we're not going to trade with people who trade with them. It really, the Jews got into some trouble with it because they were in business with the white supremacists in Africa. And so a lot of people got burned and singed by the fact that everybody kind of understood publicly that, yeah, no, we're done with this slavery shit. We're done with this two classes of citizenship shit. And we're going to judge people as individuals. We're not going to do this lazy thing of saying, well, it's just more convenient just to, arrest everybody wearing sneakers, and those will include all the burglars because all the smart burglars know to wear sneakers. I mean, just because there's a little bit of an increase in, just because profiling works, let's do it. Like, fuck no, you're just totally ripping people off. You're totally being unfair, and they could figure that out 30 years ago, and unfortunately they can't figure it out today.
To a greater extent, work. Since there have been union marches that have been squashed, and many other marches against other various things like wars that have been either squashed and ignored or just plain ignored. There's not much now.
Yes, because it's just because no one's done the work. Everybody wants things to happen. They want a scapegoat first for a cause. They want to blame it on Saddam Hussein. They want to blame it on one guy, one thing. Osama bin Laden. And that's dumb as fuck. And then they don't want to do the work of proper strategy and understanding that, yes, you have to do some things incrementally. You can't just change the world in a day. You can't switch to the metric system in one day, and you can't just flip into a whole new policy in one day. You have to have some plan to grandfather out the old farts who aren't going to be able to play along. So yeah, there's all that part of it is missing because our leaders are chosen based on some plastic facade of giving a shit, like an Obama, some slick willy bullshit, okay, of just being a slick talker, not a fancy thinker, just a fancy dresser. So they just keep, choosing their kings in this horrible manner. People talking, like I said, they've turned Bernie Sanders into some sort of new Jesus, and his idea is going to have the poor with you always. He's not going to fix poverty. He's going to make it an industry.
The modern individual can do by grouping into a larger unit. About the only thing I can think of at the moment is people have marched and campaigned for what's called gay marriages.
Yeah, but there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's all kinds of anti-abortion people, and they're really effective because there are a few million people, a minority in the country, but they vote, and they vote consistently, and they're focused on the objective, and that's why they're effective. So they clearly demonstrate it can be done, but you can't do it with a bunch of lazy-ass liberal douchebags who just want to do a bunch of talking and don't want to do any of the real hard work of actually figuring out how you get to these people.
What else really has happened in the last 30 years that's been campaigned for? There's not that much. We could say it's because, well, everything's so super duper now, and maybe it is.
Yeah, well, that's not the answer. The answer is just as simple. It's the corruption has become systemic. It's in the system so deep that it's very difficult to get it out. It's like every single politician is a liar. Every single judge is a crook. Every single cop is a wife-beating, insane kook. It's just the truth. Because it's quite obvious if there was any honest man in the group, they'd be outing all these dishonest ones that are so obviously dishonest, obviously corrupt. I mean, it's like this whole sexual bullshit that's getting all this press now. Like they're outing all of these people that have been getting away with bullshit for years. Why did they get away with it for years? Is because people didn't have any individual voice. And it's only when they, you know, 4, 5, or 6 women show up at the same time that they have a real argument. And obviously we have a court system that says, oh yeah, well you can't count all of your previous rapes. We can't hold those against you when we're judging you for this new rape. That's kind of a silly notion. It's kind of important. It gives a woman credibility when there's 6 others that show up telling the same story of the, little pills in my drink.
Maybe the big ones are really knocked out. Or not, I wouldn't like to think about that. But there's not much that people seem to do now, linking into groups to get things done.
And this is in the argument of the context of his other, like he had, it's called Long Churches. You might see that in the title below there. I mean, his previous video was some argument like we should go back, people, the poor and the dope asses need to go back to religion because somehow this is going to be a solution. It's just, I don't know where he's going with this nonsense. No, all people need to do is have more intelligent, well look, I mean, part of the problem is the masses are the ones that are going to be making the judgment. So it's always this lowest common denominator thing. And once idiocracy infiltrates, it's not going to be fixable if the idiots are driving the bus, so to speak, if that's all there are. And I've sort of made this argument so many times, but I mean, it's the intellectuals who are the real disappointment, because they're not fighting to save civilization. They're, in a sense, just doing, it seems like, everything possible to destroy it, with just insanely stupid placatings of nonsense and rubbish. And they're so interested in their own lives, like the Obamas. They're so interested in just having their portrait in White House Hall or something. And it doesn't seem like they had any ambition to actually do something. They show up to say, I'm going to change everything, and yet they had no clue what they were going to fix or how they were going to fix it or any of it. And they do this slipshod, sloppy-ass job because they really weren't motivated to fix problems. They were just motivated to be admired. Yeah, that's all. Love me. Make me a hero. I don't want to do anything heroic, though.
More and more people are individuals. And I think this is fine as long as their hope is rational and reasonable. And
well, when was hope ever rational and reasonable? When was our expectation to even live another day, not to find out we have cancer tomorrow? We don't have hope about any of this shit. So all that conversation, in my opinion, is quite moot. Yeah, we have reason to have some higher expectations now than somebody in the caveman days, so at least we have it better than that. But there's no, even under the best of circumstances, life is still this game you're playing where you're attempting to be something. It's competition. We're driven by it, and that's always toxic because to have the one winner, you have to have the whole pile of broken losers. And it's an idiotic strategy.
Just reasonable. It can be held as a hope for what they can personally achieve in the future.
So again, he would say, just everybody lower your expectations. You will not change the world. You will not influence people. You will not do this. You will not organize. You will not. And it's just all this bullshit that somehow you can't do it, even though history is full of examples of you can do. And it's only the recent history that, it's really broken. It's really hard because the mechanisms are broken. I mean, you have to start all over again with a third party, and that's just so hard to do, and blah, 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 blah. So, yes, it's a, it ain't going to be as easy as it was in the 60s to fight, the man. But he's there to be fought, and it just requires the work of better conversation, more intelligent conversation, less scapegoating, a little deeper analysis of the fundamental problems of life, and understanding simple things like every immigrant isn't a charming, wonderful, trying to do the best they can, and that poverty doesn't breed brilliance. Generally speaking, it breeds crap, and maybe poverty shouldn't be breeding. I mean, simple little logical things like you don't give subsidies to have kids. That's really a dumb thing to do. The people who should be having children are the people that can jump over the hurdles on their own, the competent, not the incompetent. People who need training wheels and crutches and a mommy state, and they need subsidies, and they're not the people that should be having fucking children. That's just a little bit of logic. For fuck's sake. Alright, well anyway, enough of this crud. So let's do some holiday and call it a day. Like I said, I'm going to try to do more with these videos. It's I'm using Linux Mint this time, so I will make a video comparing Manjaro, Ubuntu, and Mint. And so I think Mint's the winner. Well, I'm pretty sure it is. And Ubuntu is the big loser by comparison, in my experience. It's just my experience. But the idea, this whole Linux thing, is it does work. It just has these little glitches that are just so fucking stupid, and it's just a little bit irritating. But yeah, it's free, so what the fuck? No bogus capitalist asswipe aggrandized by using it, which is excellent, and such. Certainly excellent from my point of view. Alright, so we'll do some of this fucking douche day. I've been arguing with him on the physics stuff, and he's just such an obnoxious douche. But anyway, so I'm sure he's going to do something stupid here, like brains don't really get tortured. How could it possibly be any symmetry problems at all, because good doesn't matter and bad doesn't matter. I'll say something dumb like that.
Okay, watching a bit of Benatar arguing with Sam Harris at the recommendation of amendment. Watched the bit I wanted to watch, which is where he tries to justify his argument, roughly speaking.
So we didn't watch the whole thing. I didn't listen to the whole thing. You have to listen to it, really. It's not much to watch, really. It's just a silly graphic. I don't know why Sam can't figure out how to use a webcam, and even for a podcast, you can do the podcast part, but he could at least have his image, talking. Wouldn't hurt.
In terms of an asymmetry argument. Similarly, watch a bit of amendment. It's been on my mind because to make this video, because some aspects of the argument and its deficiencies have become I've gained more clarity in my mind. Firstly, it's with the issue of axiology. Benatar claims that this is an axiological argument. So it assumes value is the way to go. Right? And so does amendment.
There's no other conversation, so there isn't. Opinion doesn't mean anything. You're really just trying to find, like physics, you're trying to figure, is it a wave or is it a particle? There's no duality here. There's things in the world, in the universe, there's configuration of brain that are bad. It's a bad configuration. Horrible toothache or something. No matter where I put that in the universe, that configuration of conscious brain, it's bad. It's intrinsically, fundamentally a bad thing. No rational intelligence who has experienced horrible toothache would ever say, yes, go make that. Go make migraine headache. Put it in the universe. Make a whole pile of migraine headaches. Nothing rational wouldn't be able to, nothing that has experienced it, nothing that has tasted it would say, yes, go make that. Because they know it's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. The word bad means something. It means it's below nothing. Way below. Way, 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 way. And it has to be anything below nothing is, quicksand, is negative, it's just a fundamental fact. There's a red and a black number. There's gain and there's deficit. There's debt and there's profit. These are different things, and this complete asshole still thinks there isn't any such thing, which makes him a complete lunatic. He doesn't understand that value is intrinsic to the state that something is in. And the state of migraine is a value state, and it's decidedly negative. And any asshole who says it isn't, I hope you get what you fucking deserve. I mean, to insult torture, to minimize it or attempt to diminish it in some way, to not have respect for the high price paid by consciousness in enduring these experiences, to give them no value, is so fucking disgusting. You should just be run over on the fucking street like garbage. You're garbage. You're a styrofoam cup. You're disgusting. There's nothing conscious, in my opinion, nothing conscious and rational could ever say it doesn't matter. Too fucking preposterously stupid not to understand, yes, it's a value question, and the values are real. We don't make them up. We didn't make up the pain of one dinosaur getting eaten up by another dinosaur. You don't need us to show up to say something bad happened. No, it happens right when the fucking neurons start firing in that horrible way. The bad was there then. The bad has been there through every human experience. People having surgery with no anesthesia. All kinds of shit has gone on. And it was all really, really, really bad. And to have some douche say it doesn't matter is just so fucking puke-worthy.
Assume value's the way to go. But I can't, but I reject axiology. On the face of it, to me, all value estimations by humans are necessarily subjective.
Okay, so again, so you could just make it up. No, you can't make it up. There's a truth. It's there to be described and defined. Again, to just say it, if I don't care, that means it isn't being tortured. It's not a fact that torture. If I'm watching somebody getting tortured, if I don't, it doesn't bother me, then somehow the torture itself is now a neutral. It's not a real thing happening. A real consciousness is not in a negative state. All this crap I just said. I mean, it's a simpleton. It's below simpleton. But this is the problem. See, when I was talking about, like, this guy's not reasonably educated, and he can talk this douchery, this complete whitewashed nonsense. And this is why intellectuals fail, because they can't see the obvious. They can't even get simple facts right. It's like watching these liberal douchebags sitting there applauding open borders when how the fuck, what rational, what goes through their brain as a thought process? How much thought did they actually give the subject to come up with this idiotic notion that you can just keep funneling wretched refuse into your civilization and it won't crumble like Rome? Because that's exactly what it'll do. You won't have your civilization anymore. I mean, you're inviting the very virus that breaks civilizations. Excessive poor. I mean, idiocracy. The name is appropriate. It is a real thing. And these stupid intellectuals are saying, bring it on. I mean, fuck. You're an insane bigot if you somehow think it's a bad idea to, after we spent all this time arguing religion and finally getting America almost cleansed of it as being something that was controlling, they want to just bring in more religious voters, to bury us under again. more lunatics, more fanatic, stupid people to dilute our rational votes. I should feel good because now my rational vote will be diluted out of meaning by these irrational fucking lunatics from a shit culture that they're running scared. You know, they're running here to get away from the country they already soiled with their fucking stupidity. Anyway, I didn't want to get on that subject. I really didn't want to get on that subject, so I spare me your responses. But I just mean, it's not about bigotry. It's about having some kind of rational understanding and some perspective on history, and understanding that every civilization that fell because it didn't defend the civilization. The people got too lazy to protect their civilization. Fuck. So you're not going to have it. You're just throwing it away. And just the political stupidity of it. I mean, here we have a chance. They had the chance, like I said, with the March on Wall Street. There's a real mood to start beating the shit out of the rich. And what do the stupid liberals do? They sit there and give people a reason to forget about that subject and just keep thinking about how these dopey liberals are just going to bring a bunch of, you know, tranny poor people into the country. You know, I mean, they're so off the fucking subject. Way off the fucking subject. You know, and then if they do any talk about the rich, they have some stupid plan of just taking the money from the rich and wasting it. You know, just piss it all away. Giving people free shit. You know, not creating incentives, not creating motivations to get people to do good work, not creating good jobs for people to do good work, instead of having to do jobs where they spam phone call and do all this other shitty crap, shystery crap. Yeah, I'm just so fucking stupid. But anyway, I don't want to get into the whole political thing. I have to do another video on economics just because I know the mystics, he's heading there. And this idea of what money is. And it's just so fucking obvious that what money is the debt held by the rich. That's what money is. Money's a fucking IOU held by the rich. We don't hold the IOUs. The government doesn't hold the IOUs. The rich hold the IOUs. Yeah. That's such a fucking mistake. And people don't understand that that's what turns your money into shit. Is when it's somebody else's money and everybody's using borrowed money to outbid each other on everything because the rich have to lend the money. They have to lend the money to somebody because the money can't make money if they don't lend it to somebody. So they're going to keep lending it to people to outbid you on everything you go to buy. On a bunch of debt money. And that, you know, it's just so fucking stupid. Anyway, another subject. It's not this subject of this video. Anyway, we'll just jump ahead here. But he's already made his declaration. There's no point in talking for 17 minutes about how you think value doesn't exist as a fact. That it's not a fact that suffering happens on planet Earth in sentient brains, and that suffering is a bad thing. He doesn't think that's a true statement. He thinks it is possible in this universe that some intelligent thing could actually think it would be a good idea to make a whole bunch of suffering brains. Just an absolute torture. And he wouldn't be able to recognize something's wrong with this picture. No, that can't be right. That's got to be some kind of horrific mistake. He thinks it's actually possible for something rational to see it any other way. To actually see suffering as a good thing. Not possible. So he's just insane, so there's no point in why play his video. He's just a fucking insane, stupid douche. So, yeah, let's not even look at that stupid, dumb douche. Yeah, go back to the Mystic, or go back to Mike. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I just don't, there's not much to, you know, I like I said, I have to do some more, there's a lot of stuff I gotta do. I'm very busy. It's just a lot of stuff I'm doing. It's just a lot. Look at flowers. Geese, ugly fucking foreigners. Dirty foreigners, them damn geese. Ugh, smelly, stinking Canada. But anyway, yeah, they have their moments, I suppose. But anyway, so yeah, there's no point in dragging it out. But yeah, I hope to do something more creative with this ability to do this whole split screen thingy and all that kind of crap. And I really intended to make like 2 videos this week, and it's just, things, slips through your fingers. You think you got it, and it just slips through your fingers. So I do hope to be more productive and more aggressive and getting, doing that hope word. I intend to. But like I said, I can't argue that I'm really good at doing what I intend to do, because I'm not. So don't take it as a guarantee or anything. Just, I mean, I can't make, if I had some great excuses, I'd offer them, but I don't have any great excuses except I get distracted, and I have to narrow the number of things I'm attempting to do, and I'm really bad at that. It's like having too many kids or something. I got in over my head. I have too many projects, and you just can't spread yourself that thin. So anyway, that's just excuses again. So let's see, was there anything else? I thought there was some other flash from the past or something. No, probably not. Well, it probably was, and so I'll get to it eventually, I guess. Anyway, thanks and such, and yeah. Next video. No, I won't bother. No point. It's like the drunken peasants. They keep promising to do something brilliant, and they never do anything brilliant either. So anyway, probably the best thing to do is just expect more of the same, and then you'll be surprised when I show up with something really good. But anyway, till next time and such. Keep it simple. Definitely do a Linux video this week. See, that's the thing. I'm just trying to do these different things. See, it's like I can do more than one, because the sense is to do one is just an overview, and then it's all the specific programs. I want to do some videos, but each one has little, things about it that you really, if you don't know them, you can waste a lot of time. So anyway, but that's a whole nother, it's another project, and I really don't need another project, but whatever. It's okay. Yeah. Till next time, such, so forth and whatnot.